Hey, it's Paul from howtoplaybassdotcom. Today we're going to look at the Beatles cover of Chuck Berry's Roll Over Beethoven. Simple 12-bar blues-based song. Do watch out because the form that they use does change in different sections. For the verses, they go from the 1 chord straight to the 4 chord, which is in D is G, of course, G7, but there are a couple of sections where there'll be 4 bars of D7 before they then go to G, and the form changes slightly, so you do need to watch out for that if you know your blues forms. The bulk of this bass line is based on kind of very simple root 3rd, 5th kind of patterns. When we get to G, the octaves been displaced, so the root note is played an octave up, so you get 2 nice little contrasting variations. What's interesting about the line for me is to see how McCartney uses that very simple material and makes it go a long way by some subtle rhythm changes, by not always playing 8th notes, by throwing in some quarter notes and some 8th note rests as well, and he mixes the material up and disguises the fact that he's using very simple material to form the bass line. So interesting from that perspective, fairly easy, but for beginners it's a good picking hand workout, whether you play with your fingers or you play with the plectrum, because it's pretty up tempo, and you've got these 8th notes. Yeah, you've got some quarter notes to break it up as well, but it is quite up tempo, so it's a good test of keeping your picking hand being consistent and even at tempo. So if you don't know the song, it's definitely worth picking up and learning. Before we go to the first 12 bars of the tune, which is the intro, if you're not a subscriber to my free monthly easing, click the link under the video, head over to the website and go and subscribe. As a return and a thank you for subscribing, you'll get a series of song tutorials in video and PDF format, plus there's an exclusive monthly song tutorial in video and PDF format. All that material is purely for people who are subscribers, so if you're not a subscriber you can't get access to that. So it's definitely worth doing. Let's go and do that and then come back and we'll look at the first section of the tune, which is the intro 12-bar progression where the guitar brings everything in. So as I said in the intro, the song's based in 12-bar sections, based on blues and the variation of the blues. The intro verse, the first 4 bars are played by the guitar, and bass comes in 5th bar on the 4 chord, which is G7 chord. We're going to play something like this. 2 bars. So what we're playing is G, G, B, B, D, D, E, E, G, G, E, 2 E's, 2 D's, B, D. And the locations are G, 5th fret of the D string, 2 B's, 2nd fret of the A string, 2 D's, 5th fret of the A string, 2 E's, 2nd fret of the D string, 2 more G's, 5th fret of the D string, back to 2 E's, 2nd fret of the D string, 2 D's, 5th fret of the A string, B, D, 2nd and 5th frets of the A string. Okay, then we're into 2 bars of D. We're going to play a pattern that repeats. Simple blues style pattern, 2 D's, 2 F sharps, 2 A's, F sharp, E. D's the 5th fret of the A string, F sharp the 4th fret of the D string, A the 7th fret of the D string, F sharp, E 7th fret of the A string, D, D, F sharp, A, F sharp, E, and that repeats. Then we're back to G again. Excuse me. So a variation similar to the pattern we played, 2 G's, 2 B's, D, D, B, D, and we've been through those note locations. Then we got to A. Again, another standard kind of blues style pattern. 2 A's, 5th fret of the E string, 2 C sharps, 4th fret of the A string, 2 E's, 7th fret of the A string, C sharp and E, 4th and 7th frets of the A string. Then we're back to D. which is 2 Ds, 2 F sharps, 2 As, F sharp, G. D's 5th fret of the A string again, F sharp 4th fret of the D string, A 7th fret of the D string, F sharp and G 4th and 5th frets of the D string. And then the final bar we're going to play, which is octave A twice, 7th fret of the D string, low A 5th fret of the E string, 2 C sharps 4th fret of the D string, 2 E's 7th fret of the A string. So I'll play those 8 bars slowly. That lands us on D, which is the first note of the downbeat of the verse, which is the next section that we'll go look at. Three, two, one. 3, 2, 1. Okay, the basic verse pattern that I'm going to teach you, you can use for all the verses, bar the verse prior to the, there's a strange kind of bridge, which if you know the song comes before the guitar solo. You'll hear it in the thing. That verse is verse 3. So you can use this verse for verse 1 and verse 2, and then there's verse 4 and a verse 5 as well later on in the tune. So we're going to start off in D. Play a pattern we've already played, 2 Ds, 2 F sharps, 2 As, F sharp, A, and that's just a simple D major triad, 5th fret of the A string for D, 4th fret of the D string for F sharp, 7th fret for A. D, D, F sharp, F sharp, A, F sharp, A. Then we've got a G. We're going to go back and play a variation of the pattern we've already played in the intro. So it's not so 8th note oriented. McCartney uses some quarter notes and some 8th note rest to break up the rhythm in the verse. So we're going to play G, G, B, D, G, B, D. All the 5th and 2nd frets. G is the 5th fret of the D string, and B and D, the 2nd and 5th frets of the A string. Then we're back to D, and McCartney really breaks the rhythm up now, and he plays a pattern like this, which again is using those D major triad notes: D, F sharp, A, F sharp, A, D, F sharp, A, F sharp, A. But the use of quarter notes and the 8th note rest really breaks the rhythm up. Then we're down to G, and we've got another interesting variation on the rhythm. So we've got G, G, B, D, B, D, and then we've got a an 8th note rest at the start of beat, of the downbeat of bar 5, and then it plays, which again is just G, B, D, B, D. Then we're back to 2 bars of D with a stricter 8th note rhythm, and it's that basic pattern again: D, D, F sharp, F sharp, A, F sharp, A. Plays that twice. Then we're back down to G. So 2 Gs, 2 Bs, D, B, D. Then we're to A. We're going to play, which is just A, C sharp, 2 C sharps, E, C sharp, E. Again, just a major triad pattern. Then we're back to D again, and we're going to play a simple variation of the basic pattern we've played. So we're playing D, D, F sharp, A, F sharp, G, 5th fret of the D string. That leads us to the 12th bar of the pattern, where we're going to play, which is just A at the 7th fret of the D string, 2 low A's, 5th fret of the E string, and then a B at the 7th fret of the E string, and a C sharp, the 4th fret of the A string, of course. Sorry, I was miles away then. And that leads us back to D, which is the start of downbeat, to repeat the verse pattern. So I'll play through the entire 12 bars just slowly. At the end is the downbeat of the next pattern. We'll quickly go and look. There's a slight variation that McCartney uses in the last 2 bars of verse 3. We'll quickly go and look at that, and then we'll go look at the bridge. Okay, verse 3 is the same as the other verses, except the last 2 bars are different. Now, I've just played verse 3 in its entirety. We'll just look at the 4 bars of the turnaround. So it starts on G, and then to A, and we've covered those bars already in the previous section, so you can, if you're not sure, you can go back, make some notes from that section. And then we've got the 2 bars that are new. We're going to play, and that will take us to D, which is the bridge. So what we need to play is, for those 2 bars, is D, F sharp A, F sharp A, 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 B, C sharp. So D, 5th fret of the A string, F sharp and A, 4th and 7th fret of the D string, F sharp and A again, A, low A, 5th fret of the E string, B at the 7th fret, C sharp at the 4th fret of the A string. Brings us back to D, first note of the bridge, next section that we're going to go and look at. So let's go look at the bridge. Three, two, one. Okay, the bridge is again another 12-bar section. The harmony changes slightly, and also the bass line changes. Instead of being more kind of using traditional roots, 3rd, 5th kind of things in the bass line, it's much more root note driven, but some interesting little things. So let's start off. So the first bar is just D, 5th fret of the A string in 8th notes. Then the second bar we play, which is D, 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 G, F sharp, E. G and F sharp, 5th and 4th frets of the D string, E at the 7th fret of the A string. Third bar is almost the same as the first bar, just a quarter note at the start of it, and then we've got a repeat of bar 2 in bar 4. Okay, then we go to 2 bars of G, and we're going to play this, which is G, 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 A, G, F sharp, and F, G, 5th fret, A, 7th fret, G, 5th fret, F sharp, 4th fret, all on the D string. Then we're back to 2 bars of D, and we're going to play this, which is all D, the 5th fret of the A string, apart from that A, the last 8th note of those 2 bars, which is the 7th fret of the D string, of course. Then we're back to G, 5th fret of the D string, up to A, 7th fret of the D string, then we're down to D again, bar of D in 8th notes, and then the last bar we're going to play D, which is, so D, open A string, open A string, open A string, open A string, slide to the octave, back to your pattern, for the next section. So practice that slowly, and also practice getting back from where you slid up to the A at the 12th fret of the A string to get back to D, the 5th fret, and start the next section. So and something like that, something I've talked about in previous tutorial videos if you've been watching for the last couple of months. Again, just practice it really slowly. And get your fingers and your hands really used to what you're asking them to do. So that when you come to play it faster, you've got the confidence, your hands will have been over it several times, 10, 20, 50 times even, so they'll know exactly how to make that slide automatically, how far they need to go up and stop, make the slide, and then the distance to get straight back to that D. Because when you're playing that up to the performance tempo of the tune, it's pretty fast, so you've got to be on the money for that. You don't want to be hitting that slide later than beat 4, and you need to be hitting that exactly on the downbeat of the next beat 1. So that's the bridge. Next section we need to look at is the guitar solo, so let's go look at that section. Okay, so the bridge leads to the guitar solo, which has got some little variations, so we'll quickly go through them. Starts off obviously in D, just again root 3rd 5th, D, F sharp and A. We've done the note locations. Then we go down to G, so G, B, D, B, D. Then we've got some interesting, or a little interesting variation to the pattern. What McCartney then plays, we've got 2 bars of D and he plays something like this. So he's playing 3 Ds, then the F sharp, then 2 As, F sharp, A. Which is an interesting little variation. When he goes back to the G7, he then uses that kind of approach in the G7 as well. He plays, which is 3 Gs, B, D, D, B, D, and does that twice. Then when he goes back to D, he repeats that again. Then we get to the turnaround, and he uses that in the start for the G7. So G, 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 B, D, D, B, D. Then we're down to A, and he plays something like, which is 2 low A's, octave A, C sharp, E, E, C sharp, E. Then we're on to D again. And he uses that pattern again, which is 3 Ds, F sharp, 2 A's, F sharp, A. And then the final bar, we go down to the low A, and we're going to play, which is A, A, D, D, F sharp, G, A. And that takes us back to verse 4, and we can use the basic verse pattern that we've already looked at. So there's only one other part to look at, and that's kind of the outro verse with the ending. So let's go and look at that. Okay, the outro chorus, again based on similar patterns we've looked at before. Got a couple of interesting variations though. It gets down to the G and gets down on some low patterns there. So let's go through bar by bar as always. Starts off D with that basic kind of pattern, D, D, F sharp, A, F sharp, A. Second bar it does it, but it's all 8th notes. Third bar's like the first bar, except we're going back to E after the F sharp. E's the 7th fret of the A string, of course, and then the 4th bar we've got a nice run down, just a scalar run down, D, D, C, C, B, B, A, A, which sets us up for the G, 5th, 3rd, 2nd and of the A strings, and then you can play either the open A string or the 5th fret of the E string for A. That gives us 2 bars of G where we're playing this kind of pattern, which is G, G, B, B, D, D, C, B, 3rd fret of the E string for G, 2nd fret of the A string of course for B, 5th fret for D, C, the 3rd fret of the A string, back to B at the 2nd fret. Plays that twice. Then we're back to D. So that basic pattern, 2 Ds, 2 F sharps, quarter note A, F sharp A, plays that twice, and then we've got the ending, and I'll go through this really slowly. The first bar is 8th notes in A, 7th fret of the D string. Then we've got a 2/4 bar, 8th notes in A, 7th fret of the D string again, so just count 1 and 2 and. And then the 11th and 12th bar, which I'm going to play together because they kind of fit together, you're going to play. And that's the ending. We've got D, F sharp, G, F sharp, G, G sharp, the 6th fret. Then we're up to A at the 7th fret, down to the low A, C sharp, D, and then that last D is the last note. So I play that really slowly. You should be able to pick up those notes. Again, D, F sharp, G, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, low A, C sharp, D, D, and that ends the song, and you should be able to put those parts together and play through this song. Now that's how McCartney plays it. Of course, if you're playing with a live band, it's very much a blues thing. You can play any kind of variations, so if you forget exactly what McCartney's playing in some of the parts, you can just throw in those kind of standard blues patterns, which is just root, 3rd, 5th, 3rd, 5th, or just do it with the octave, 3rd, 5th, 3rd. If you know your major arpeggios, that will get you through, and you can use those in various parts. It's one of those songs, very simple song, but it's a great song to play with a live band. My advice is to learn it, play along with the record. If you've got something that speeds your record up or down, speed it up and play along with it, speed it up, because invariably when you play this live, it's one of those tunes that's played about 8 to 10 beats per minute quicker than the recording. So if you've not practiced playing it at that tempo, you might suddenly find yourself being rushed a little bit because you're playing a little bit faster. So do that. You have to put all the parts together and play through that. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I'll catch you in the next tutorial.